Welcome to the Confluence cast presented by Columbus Underground. We are a weekly Columbus-centric podcast focusing on the civics, lifestyle, entertainment, and people of our city. I'm your host, Tim Fulton. This week, good comedy is a reflection of society. Next month, for 5 days, over 150 comedians will grace 10 stages throughout the city for the inaugural Columbus Comedy Festival. On the occasion of the upcoming event, I sat down with Walker Evans, co-founder of Columbus Underground and the Comedy Festival, and Hannah Romes, co-owner of Hashtag Comedy. We discussed the impetus for and the execution of the festival, the opportunities in the Columbus comedy scene, and their focus on increasing public awareness of the city's abundant talent. Admittedly, I tried to write a wittier introduction for this week's episode, but I've decided to leave the jokes to the professionals. You can get more information on what we discussed today in the show notes for this episode at theconfluencecast.com. Enjoy the interview. Sitting down here with Walker Evans, the co-founder of Columbus Underground, and Hannah Romes, the co-owner of Hashtag Comedy Club. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. We are here on the occasion of the upcoming Columbus Comedy Festival. Walker, for the video audience, is holding up stickers that are available.
Yes.
Walker, tell us about the fest.
Sure. It's the first year for the festival. There have been comedy festivals in Columbus in the past. This is the first year of this version, I should say.
Okay.
We do some larger scale event production through Columbus Underground, like the Columbus Coffee Festival, which is also coming up in first weekend in October. But yeah, Anne, my wife and co-founder of CU, along with me, have been comedy fans forever and ever. We love touring acts. We love the local scene, and kind of thought that it was ready for a reboot of the festival idea.
Okay.
So we sat down with a pretty large group of like all the different venue operators and promoters and stuff, including Hannah, like last October, almost a full year ago, and sort of said like, what if Columbus Underground runs the festival as a whole, and we'll program some of it, but everyone else can kind of program their own venues, and we all promote it as one big collective festival. So like everyone can kind of do their own thing the best way they know how, and everybody wins.
Rising tide.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Talk me through why that's a wide net, right? Like, was that the intent from the beginning? Sort of like you're only going to get buy-in from everybody if you are involving everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got like the Funny Bone, which has been sort of like the default powerhouse of comedy in the city for 40-ish years now. But then a lot of sort of newer brick and mortar spaces like Hashtag, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
The Attic, which is just a little over a year old in Old Town East. The Don't Tell events, which are pop-up events, so they're not a brick and mortar, but they've been going for about two years now. And so it would definitely be easier to just say we're going to do a festival like on our own terms without anybody else, and then all of a sudden you've sort of like kind of driven yourself in as a wedge, I guess. And I would rather see something, because at the end of the day, like the benefit should be like we want the festival to go well, but we want people to continue to support comedy year round. So if they can become fans of these venues and these comedians and these producers in the process, then they'll go out and hopefully keep coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
Hannah, tell us about Hashtag.
Yeah, sure. So we started as an improv troupe 10 years ago, actually born out of a class from the Funny Bone, an improv class. Yeah, and then from there, we were doing shows weekly at places like Mad Lab, Upfront, Shadowbox Live, Natalie's in Grandview, Woodlands Tavern. And then we actually were going to open up a comedy club in March of 2020. I don't know if you knew this, but then COVID happened, obviously. So like,
I don't know if you knew this about COVID. Did you hear?
I think you're looking at me. Like,
I was thinking about Walker. But like,
you've told me the story.
So eventually that obviously couldn't happen. But then We got through it. We were doing online classes and shows during COVID. And then a year about after the pandemic, we decided, it was about time to try something out, open up a brick and mortar space to continue our classes, but also do shows and improv and stand up and sketch. So we've really honed in on programming since about November of last year, and regularly since January, February, we've been doing shows every weekend. We still do our improv classes, and we have a sketch troupe now. So it's we're really trying to just bring on all different types of comedy and kind of create a space that's very welcoming for people that want to try it or have been doing it for a long time and might have a different alternative style or even just more traditional comics, but trying to break down the barriers of entry for comedy is something that we're really passionate about.
And what's your background? What brings you to improv?
Sure. So I started doing improv about 7 years ago, and then I've been doing stand-up for about 3.5-ish years. I actually started with Hashtag. Hashtag started before I was involved. I started as a cast member about 5 years ago. Then I started helping with the marketing. And then I became owner a couple years ago, and that's kind of what I think helped propel us into creating this brick and mortar space. Is trying to just after I saw the stand up comedy scene, I really wanted to try to tie in the improv space with the stand up space, because before it was kind of two separate groups, and I think that we've really been able to successfully do that with different shows and things like that.
And you're obviously let's talk about the economics of it. Yeah. There's different Mad Lab. I imagine you're paying a rental fee, right? Whereas Natalie's or a traditionally live music venue, it's ticket sales, right? Is there a spreadsheet where you were here's how we can economically make this work?
Yeah.
Talk to me from a business perspective, what your plans were there.
Yeah, sure. So my background is in business. I'll say my other co-owners, Chris Heiberger, he does business for his full-time job. And then our other owner, Matt White, is a corporate lawyer. Okay. So we're all very, we're all very focused on trying to make sure that this makes sense. Right. Yeah. And we all have full-time jobs, and they're all, business oriented. So we definitely want to try to make this work, obviously economically. The biggest driver for us to cover our rent and expenses has been our classes. And we've been doing classes consistently, probably the most out of everything else that we've been doing outside of improv shows. So that's been a really big driver for us to be able to have the freedom to be able to do shows and be a little bit more experimental and take this time to really grow sustainably. We're in it for the long haul. And so we realize there's no quick wins, right? Whatever you do, you have to work on building a strong foundation. And that's what I think we've had with our brand for the last 10 years. And now building it into a physical space is a different kind of animal, but still really fun. So our classes, we have corporate workshops as well, where we'll go to different organizations and work with their HR department to create team building exercises, things like that. And that all helps and funds the same thing of just bringing people joy, and, whether it's in the office space or at a comedy show or whatever.
And is a goal that one of you guys gets to quit your day job?
Yeah, hopefully at least two of us do. 2 out of 3 would be ideal. But I'm really happy with my day job, and I really am very passionate about just the Columbus comedy scene and trying to bring more eyes on it. That's why I'm so excited about the festival, but also creating a space for different performers. As a female comedian myself, I definitely understand how a lot of comedy is kind of like a boys' club in a lot of ways. And so being able to connect with different performers from marginalized communities and giving them a space and being very open with that, I think is good. Another thing we're really passionate about as business people is trying to foster a very professional feeling for performers. I think that can be very difficult sometimes to do, but I always encourage performers to think of themselves. Yeah, I have friends in the comedy scene, but I consider everyone my colleague more than anything else. And I will always try to present Hashtag in that way of very a business transaction. So we try to be very transparent about paying performers, paying people that work the door or the bar, and trying to give people opportunities. We have payment plans. If somebody can't afford a class, we can try to work with you, but trying to be very open with that kind of thing. So something that we really are passionate about.
And I assume you're making yourself available for rentals too.
Yeah. So if people want to we actually have a wedding coming up, I think in a few weeks. Somebody's going to rent it out for a wedding, which is really exciting. Not me, but it's fine. But yeah, we have stuff like that too going on. We've had pop-up coffee shops before, and just some other things too. But yeah, we try to keep it pretty open for the community, and we're right in the short north, so there's tons of different, cool starter companies that want to collaborate or get involved, which I've definitely loved. Just being in that area is great.
Yeah. And are you guys basically presenting your company during the comedy festival? Like your sketch shows and your improv stuff, like you didn't bring in outside performers for it?
We have both. So
Okay.
that's something that we're really passionate about. So for our stand-up shows, I think we have 13 or 14 comedy shows happening at the festival, which is a little over 700 seats, and our venue sits like 55 to 65 max. So it's I definitely was stressed booking all of those, but it's been a fun challenge.
You did a great job.
Yeah, I sweated a lot. But we're working with a lot of our internal cast. So we have a couple, main cast. We have TBD, the improvised musical, which is a fully improvised musical. It has theater performers and improvisers, comedians from Columbus. We have a accompanist who always plays music. It's one of my favorite comedy shows in Columbus. I can say that because I'm not in the cast.
Okay.
They wouldn't let me in, and they shouldn't.
Okay.
But then there's another comedy show, improv show called True Story, which I am in, and it's like a story-based improv show. We have a sketch troupe called Hot People Near You, and they're also performing at the festival. And then we have a bunch of different stand-up performers coming in from Cleveland. We have people from New York coming in, all over. So I'm trying to really shine a light on the talent within Columbus. That's really, something that I'm personally really passionate about, but also trying to build a network so we can get the name out there as Columbus being such a popular comedy city outside of just Ohio. And that's where I kind of view the comedy festival as being a great anchor for that.
Yeah. And go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, like, one of the great things about working with multiple groups and multiple venues and multiple kind of show runners in this is that we've been able to collaborate on some folks. And so we'll bring someone in, and I might book them for a show that Columbus Underground is doing at like the Performing Arts Center on Thursday, and then that person is involved in the show on Friday at hashtag. And so we're able to give people multiple opportunities across the city in multiple spaces. And so that's been really fun.
Well, and what you're not saying there is that is what makes it worth it for that person to come into town.
Yeah, if they were just coming in to do like a quick 5 to 10 minute set and then leaving, it wouldn't be worth it. But if they have multiple opportunities while they're here, that's pretty great.
And it's kind of a really good kind of prototype for other talent to come in, even during, like, not during the festival too. And I know like a lot of cities, a comedian will come in out of town and they'll be booked at multiple venues. So it's kind of a cool way to test that out with a more organized structure than maybe us having to like reach out to independent producers. But it's I think Columbus definitely is very fruitful for comedy and comedians. So trying to like highlight that is great.
And talk about the selection process that you went through. You put out applications. So there are both, first of all, tell us some of the headliners that you have.
Sure. Well, before I do that, I also want to shout out The Nest is another one of our venue partners.
Okay.
I didn't mention them earlier. So Funny Bone, The Nest, hashtag Attic, and Don't Tell are kind of the 5 main venue partners.
Okay.
And then Columbus Underground is booking shows at The Key, the Columbus Performing Arts Center, and Mad Lab.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't leave anybody out. So we started booking headliners back in January. So we reached out to people to make offers to be sort of like headliner level,
Right.
or like showcase level, and then opened up an application process for anyone that just wanted to submit to be a part of that. And that was open January 15 to March 15.
Okay.
It was a $10 entry fee to be considered. You submit a video. We had a team of people watch and score all of them. We had almost 250. We had 2 lists. We had a stand-up list and then an improv/sketch list. So they're kind of 2 different buckets.
Stand-up and other, right?
Kind of, yeah. Stand-up is the more popular form, but we want to have a variety of things. And we have like film-based shows. We have variety shows. We have a puppet show. There's a lot of stuff going on all week long. So everyone's taste should be satisfied. But in the selection process, we had almost 250 people apply. I think we were able to book like 75 out of that across like all the different venues.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. I mean,
lot of work.
as you have on your website, it's 150 plus comics, right?
Yeah. That's across all venues, all days, whether someone is like a full hour-long headliner in the biggest venue down to someone who's doing like 5 minutes or is a part of an improv troupe. Like we're trying to recognize everybody involved,
So
top to bottom.
talk through that sort of like after the applications, like you've got like a spreadsheet just like
big old spreadsheet.
And you're watching all the clips that they submitted and like
I was one of the judges, so I watched every single one.
Did you have other judges? Did you end up having other judges?
We had a pool of judges that kind of went through. So it wasn't just like one person's opinion of what they were.
This is the comedy festival where it's just, these are Walker's favorite comics.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I mean, everyone's taste is different and you want like a variety of styles and stuff because that's something that I don't like, somebody else might and vice versa. So yeah, good to have different tastes involved. And so once a score was assigned, then that one form, so it was a $10 entry fee, and then you could be booked by hashtag, Nest, Attic, Funny Bone, us, and Don't Tell. Like it all went into the same pool. So you didn't have to reapply for each group booking.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that scoring, I imagine, was like a good guide for folks.
Yeah.
But like maybe they're not going to watch like the lowest scored one.
Right. And some of them are like, oh, I recognize this person. And even though they got a 6 out of 10, like I like their material. Like maybe that wasn't the best video they sent. A lot of people are just sending us like iPhone videos with bad sound.
Yeah.
So like you can't always get a full, sense of that person. Can I tell you my personal favorite of all of the application processes?
Did this person get in?
Oh, of course.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Just making sure.
Yes. Peter Brick.
Oh man.
I don't know if you watched it.
I love Peter Brick.
He's great. I've seen him perform before, so I was already familiar with his style. But special shout out to Peter. He submitted a full hour-long, like professionally produced hour set.
Okay.
And it was amazing. And I watched the whole thing from start to finish. Like I started watching it. And he had Nicky Winkleman like introduce him and bring him on, which is just like, okay, well, that's off to a good start.
Yeah.
And he starts going in and like his jokes are hitting and it's great. And I'm like,
live audience, I assume?
Live audience.
Okay.
It was filmed at Mad Lab.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was, I will say, I think it was his, he recorded a special.
Yes.
So that was, I think, late last year at Mad Lab. So that was probably what he sent in. But it's Peter, Briek,
Correct.
if you want to give him a shout out. He's one of my favorite comedians in Columbus. He's amazing.
He's great.
Yeah.
But I started watching this, and after a couple minutes, I paused it to look at the timestamp, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is a full hour!" Like I didn't realize it at first. Because you're just in the mode, and you're just watching. I'm like, "This is really funny," and I watched the whole thing.
And so, what was the logistical nightmare then of like getting all these people slotted?
Just spending a lot of time with spreadsheets.
Was it just a lot of like? Say I'm a comedian that like got an email that was like, "Hey, we'd like to have you in the festival."
Yeah.
May I have gotten 3 emails, like one from you, one from hashtag, one from the Attic?
Yeah.
That were like
potentially. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what were your emails like? Were they like, I would like to consider you for a slot in this show?
Yeah. Are you available Thursday at 10 p.m. to do a 20-minute feature set for this headliner? And here's what it pays, and here's the. Basically, I just copied and pasted and like sent like the basic details for each of the shows out to people. But it was a lot of
a mail merge of like, what a mail merge is?
Yes.
Do you?
I don't.
A mail merge is like, I don't even think people really do it anymore because we have CRMs, but you have like a spreadsheet of like, here's somebody's name, here's somebody's business.
Oh, and the data and plugging it.
And then
No.
I didn't have like unique fields to fill in.
No, because it was a little more high touch than that.
Yeah. But then they literally
but I was able
you back.
But I was able, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was, and then creating contracts and having like everybody sign something. And, yeah. So it was a lot, but I mean, we started in January, so
and then
it's been a process.
So with the headliners, is it all different with them? Like some have guarantees, some.
Yeah,
we're back to economics.
We're just getting in the weeds.
Yeah. It's important.
It's a mix. Yeah, because a lot of the headliners, so like the big folks, kind of up on the top of this flyer are Jason Banks, local guy, Michael Ian Black, who's huge, from the state back in the 90s. Tony Rock, who was booked by Funny Bone, so he's doing like 5 shows at the Funny Bone. He's one of Chris Rock's brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his other brother Jordan also on there.
Okay.
We got 2 out of 3 rocks. So
yeah, and I hope they make jokes about one of them is bigger than
Jordan
the other
has
one.
a great bit about. He's like, I'm related to all the rocks. I'm gonna butcher it. He's related to all the rocks. Chris, Tony, Kid, he's like, but if you haven't heard me, that's okay. I've been living under a lot of rocks.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
silly.
He was on the show Love on Netflix. Did you watch that? The Paul Rust show?
I don't think
with
so.
Jillian, what's her name? She's on The Bear too, and Community. Jillian.
Jillian, I want to say Anderson, but I know that's not right.
Jacobs? Jillian Jacobs?
Yes.
Yeah. He was on that show. Anyway, I digress. Irene Tu, Fume Abe, Deanne Smith, Chloe Radcliffe, Jeremiah Watkins, Sam J. But, these are a lot of like mid to high range comics, I would say. Like, and a lot of them are like on the way up, ascending, like they're growing by leaps and bounds right now. So I think it's kind of cool that this is a festival where you can pay $20 to go to a show and like see someone on their way up.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, I'm going to see Bill Burr in Nationwide Arena and it's $150 tickets.
Yeah.
Like these people hopefully, will be like the next arena comics that you'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. Same, like Nate Bargatze was in town earlier this year and he played Nationwide. I think he did 2 nights in Nationwide Arena.
Okay.
But like you could have seen him at like the Grandview Tavern like 8 years ago for $15.
Okay.
Or
And-
what, is that what's called Grandview? What's the
Woodlands?
Woodlands? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Grandview.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Woodlands Tavern.
So the original question though
Sorry.
was
Their contracts.
their
Yeah.
contract.
You want to see their contracts?
No. I'm just curious, like, and I'm not gonna. Please don't tell me what's in the contracts, but I imagine they're all different and they all have some nuance, and like they have like some people are demanding a guarantee, some people are like, I'm this flat rate, some people are like, hey, I need a hotel.
They're all a little different. Yeah. So with like headliners and stuff, some of it like we had boilerplate contracts that we sent out that they signed, and some of them have agencies and management, so we're actually dealing with
it's
like
their contract.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're sending us their boilerplate. And so, you start looking at it and a lot of it is more for like if they were being booked at something like the Funny Bone and it doesn't make sense for a festival, they're like, we need the right to be the sole seller of merch on the night of our performance.
And you're like,
And
sorry.
it's like maybe at the Funny Bone that makes sense if you're headlining a Funny Bone show, but like this is a festival and they're like, just red line out anything in the contract you don't like.
Right.
So we took a heavy pen and like went through
Does
everything.
anybody have like riders of like, well, I must have a bowl of green M&Ms or
One,
anything like that?
only one has a rider.
Okay.
Do I call them out for it?
No,
Or-
I don't think you
it's
need to do
fun.
that.
I like it.
Is it a fun? Don't tell us who has the rider, but is there anything funny in the rider?
It's a very specific bottle of tequila
Okay.
and like a sparkling water grapefruit juice mixer.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's pretty badass. We're doing that, of course.
That was always kind of when I was at the Wexner
it wasn't
Center.
like a bowl of M&M kind of situation.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's what mine is.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
M&M flavored vodka.
Yeah. I like it to be infused with M&Ms.
They're all like dissolved in the bottom.
Yeah.
And how did you guys, Hannah, when you were sort of looking at the weekend, like you're putting you're like, obviously our content's going to be there. And then did you sort of say like, okay, how much else can we fit in?
Yeah. And we, I kind of realized we had at least like one main show that we wanted to do for every single night of the week. So
Okay.
I also forgot the show that I do, which is called Meemaw's House. I dress up like my Appalachian grandma, and there's a possum puppet that's like my sidekick. It's kind of like Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Are you a ventriloquist in this, or is the puppet
The
performed
puppet
by
is
someone
performed
else?
by Lindsay Bowes
Okay.
of Savage Tech, who also is doing a show during the festival.
Okay.
But yeah, she will also be voicing. His name is Kyle the possum. But we have we have a show every single night of the week that's kind of like one of our main shows. So our sketch show, improv show, stand-up shows that we do, and then we have. At least we have more than one show every single night of the week. So I try to filter in some more like stand-up centric things.
Yeah.
We're also partnering with Imposters Theater in Cleveland, who's been a really great supporter. We've collaborated with them multiple times. They're great. They're coming down on Saturday. Actually, Michael Bush, the owner of that, was on Community for a very small moment. I think he had a scene.
Okay.
So that's on Saturday. We have the Big Imposters Comedy Night is what they'll be doing. But basically trying to like shine a light on things that people can see regularly, every month in Columbus at hashtag, while also adding some fun freshness of people from out of town, or, maybe bigger comics that we don't always collaborate with. So trying to like kind of diversify our content has been a main focus for, how I approached booking, but also using the spreadsheet was a really big help too. And that was a monster in and of itself. I'm so happy I did not have to watch all those videos like Walker did.
Yeah. It was fun. I enjoy it. And I started early because we started accepting applications January 15th and they started coming in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to start watching. I'm not going to wait for it to close before I start watching the videos. I started right away.
Right.
So you just watch a couple a day and
What are the logistics? Are you only worried, Walker, about basically your shows? Because obviously the other venues.
About everybody.
Well, yeah, but you can handle they are venues. They know how to handle and do their own stuff, right?
Yes, like we're not like staffing hashtag
Right.
or having someone scanning tickets at the door at the Funny Bone. Like that's all on them.
Yeah.
We're also not taking a portion of any of their money for any of the venues and stuff. Like Columbus Underground is just doing the events that we're booking ourselves.
Got it.
Yeah, we're running those from start to finish and making our money back from those.
What are the other logistics that people don't think about? I think you do have like a transport person.
Yeah,
and like,
we hired a guy, Will Hancock, referred by
we're just dropping all the names.
all the names. Will Hancock.
Who is the driver? He is not in a show.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. But Simon Fraser, there's a name drop for you. Simon recommended him because this guy has helped with other comedy festivals and run transportation for other comedy festivals.
Okay.
So basically, like you're bringing all these headliners, or even just other people from out of town,
Yeah.
like other performers from out of town, and it's like cool. I'm there and I'm getting paid to be there, but now I'm spending all this money on X, Y, and Z, and like Ubers can eat up a lot of that very quickly.
Yeah.
So basically, we have complimentary drivers, not for the attendees. Don't think we're paying for your Uber home, but for the performers. So they have a ride to and from the airport, from hotel to venue, venue to venue, like that sort of stuff. So there's some logistics there, but it's nice to have someone who is experienced in that, kind of running that from start to finish. We're operating like a little festival headquarters check-in area, so that everyone can kind of check in, get their itinerary. There's some food and drink there, some comfy seating, sort of almost like a pre-show green room where you can kind of relax, check your email.
And this is for the performers.
For the performers and volunteers and staff and stuff.
Got it.
Not for the general public.
Do we get badges? Can we have badges?
Some will have like badges or lanyards.
Sorry, can I have?
Yes, done.
Thank you.
You'll have
somebody in this room.
I have the code to get into this office. I think I should get a badge.
It might be plastic and it might say sheriff, but you will have a badge.
Okay.
And he might need it back before a kid's birthday.
There's a ton of logistical stuff. We are working on an after party as well on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so we have someone that's going to be running all of that. And that will be open to the public.
Okay.
Yeah. Big sort of
come and hobnob with your favorite.
Yeah, just a place for people to go and have fun afterwards and stuff. So, but yeah, we're working with Sonesta as a hotel partner. So the headliners that we've promised a hotel room to, if they're staying for more than a day, we've got a good downtown hotel partner for that. We've got a lot of great restaurant partners. I'm not going to read the whole list of sponsors, but thanks GCAC and downtown Columbus. Heidelberg.
Do you want to talk about the other? Like the workshop-y type things that you've got too?
They're not really for the general public.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we are doing some like industry development stuff.
Yeah.
So that like the comedians, especially like the smaller, local, younger, fresher comedians can have access to some sort of like class type panels.
Okay.
On the topics of like marketing, how to get booked in clubs in other cities, like the roles that agents and management play. It wouldn't even really be something interesting to the general public. I think it's very like insider baseball.
Interesting for me, but
I will say hashtag is going to be doing general public workshops. So So Michael Bush from Cleveland, who I mentioned earlier, he will be doing some kind of workshop. We're deciding if it's writing or improv focused, but we'll have something like that. We also are doing a free improv workshop for anyone who's ever wanted to do improv. And these are open to the general public or comedians coming in. And then we also have a writing workshop we're working on, likely with professional comedian and writer Mike Larson, who's from Columbus and is booked on the festival as well. So we have a few different things as well. But that's at hashtag. We'll be doing that over the weekend. But those are general public, in case if anyone here is like listening, they're like, damn, I think I could do stand-up or improv.
Right.
Check us out on our website.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
And how... The comment I think I made to you at the beginning of this is like, this is a lot to navigate, right?
Sure.
There's a lot to, how would you suggest that people are like, I'm going to go and I'm going to take in 2 or 3 nights of the festival or 2 or 3 events.
Yeah.
How would you suggest they sort of navigate that?
Well, on the website, columbuscomedyfest.com, there is a schedule page, and everything is listed chronologically by date and time. So that's a really easy way to sort of see like what you want to go and do each day of the week. You can also sort by performer. You can sort by venue. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of look through all the information, see what you want to do.
Okay.
We decided to take the approach of just making it fully a la carte. But all of the tickets are pretty reasonable. I think the most expensive ticket might be like $35. Most of them are like $20.
Okay.
I know several at hashtag are like $17.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. There's some shows that are $10. Like Hannah said, there's a free class. So it's all up and down across the board. Rather than making people commit, like $300 to get a wristband and then be able to get into everything. Logistically, that also would have been a nightmare because everyone has a different ticketing platform and all that. But if you look at the Netflix is a Joke Festival, which might be the largest comedy festival in North America now that Just for Laughs was canceled for this year.
Okay.
They're planning on bringing it back. They filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
But the Netflix is a Joke model is also a la carte. So it's like 2 weeks of shows happening all over Los Angeles, and you pick and choose what you want to go to.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, there might be VIP packages to that as well. Yeah. I'm not sure, but if you just wanted to go there and go to one show, you can do that and spend that one ticket.
There you go.
Yeah.
What Walker has surprised you about putting this together?
I mean, it's been really nice that everyone's been very eager to come to Columbus. Everyone's been really great to work with, not just performers, but like the agents and stuff too. Cause that's something that I've never really done before is like reach out to talent agents in Los Angeles and be like, let's talk contracts, but everyone's just a person trying to do a job, they want to see their, the people they represent get work. And so it's just a conversation to have, but no major hiccups or hangups. I think we've tried to create something that like, there's enough room for everyone to kind of do their own thing. Yeah. And hopefully it continues to get bigger and better every year. If we hadn't been doing the coffee festival for 8 going on 9 years, we've already kind of run larger scale events. So we kind of know the ins and outs of like what could go wrong. So knock on wood, but no surprises so far.
Yeah. And then we'll do the music festival next year. Let's do it. Hannah, I have Walker, a couple times a year. I end every interview with the same 2 questions. Okay. They are, what do you think Columbus is doing well? And what do you think Columbus is not doing so well?
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be comedy related. Yeah. It can be something completely off the rails. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll keep it to comedy related. I don't want to speak out of pocket. I think the comedy scene's grown really fast in the last year. I've seen a lot of great comics coming onto the scene, and from feedback I get from comics that come from all over, Columbus has a lot of opportunity for growth and for giving different comedians platforms maybe earlier than they would be able to otherwise. And it kind of helps create this like snowball effect of getting better and better. And I think that's been really exciting to see that with improv as well. I think something that an opportunity that we can grow with is getting more eyes of the general public on the comedy scene. Right now, it's like almost Columbus's like best kept secret is how many comedy clubs there are, how many opportunities for live entertainment you see. People are on their phones, on Instagram, watching comedians all the time, but they're not aware that there's over 100 of really talented comedians in the city that are performing at any given weekend.
Any given night. I mean,
any given night, right? Like there's open mics throughout the city, all these opportunities to find things. And so, even at hashtag, I book most of the shows and I'm working with local producers if they do an independently produced show. And we do not really repeat talent. And, in the last 6 months, 7 months that we've been doing regular programming. And I think that is definitely a nod to how diverse Columbus is. And I don't think any Columbus comedy venue is competing against each other. We've had multiple shows sell out at different venues on the same night. And really, it just gets to getting the general public excited and aware of the comedy scene. And I think that's why I'm so excited about the festivals. I think that really addresses a huge need right now. And I'm really excited to see how this grows.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you for listening to the Confluence Cast presented by Columbus Underground. Again, you can get more information on what we discussed today in the show notes for this episode at theconfluencecast.com. Please rate, subscribe, share this episode of the Confluence Cast with your friends, family, contacts, enemies, your favorite comedian. If you're interested in sponsoring the Confluence Cast, get in touch with us. We can be reached by email at info@theconfluencecast.com. Our theme music was composed by Benji Robinson. Our producer is Philip Cogley. I'm your host, Tim Fulton. Have a great week.